Hello everyone, I'm Janelle with Toons Unlimited, and I wanted to start this video off by saying Happy New Year to everyone. I do apologize that I was not able to get out at least one more video last year, but between my winter vacation and me preparing for the holidays, it just didn't work out. However, I am back, and I still plan on having plenty of various tutorials. So for this tutorial, I thought I would do a video on character poses, and the reason why is because there is a huge amount of clip art that's out there on the internet where people are buying items for various reasons. And as you can see, a lot of times, take for example this character, they have a character and it's the same character, but he is in various poses. And to be quite honest, you can do similar poses with Crazytalk animator characters. And so for this tutorial, I actually went ahead and did several of them in advance, but I am going to do one where I recorded on screen so you can see how I get my characters into different poses, whether I am promoting a new item or just using them to do a presentation, brochure, whatever. People use this application for so many different reasons, and I'm going to show you how to use this one with dealing with clip art. So I will tell you the software I'm going to be using is, of course, Crazytalk Animator 3, and in my case, I'm going to be using Affinity Designer. It's kind of like your, I guess, like your Photoshop, and even using something as simple as Microsoft PowerPoint. I'm going to show you how you can take different clip arts and do additional features with it. So in this case, I recently created a new buddy character, and he's a chef. And I'm going to go ahead and bring him on stage. This is my new chef buddy. Now, I will say one thing I do like about this character, I am a huge Buddy Worlds fan. I have done a lot of different characters as well as composer packs for that particular series. And one of the things that I started late last year and will be moving forward with this year is kind of making my buddy characters my own. And with that being said, if you notice that my character he's slightly different than a traditional buddy character. Let me bring out um, the original buddy character so you can see. One of the things that sticks out is the eyes. The buddy characters are very well known for having the South Park type look. But these characters come with a ton of animation and movements. I like the way they bounce and jiggle and wiggle. Um, but I wanted to do something that was more of my style work. So in this case, there's a lot of enhancements that's been done with mines versus the other ones. One of the main things is for the feet, you just have one particular style. It's like the side angle foot, whereas with mines, I went on and started putting more of a G2 variety into the character. So in this case, if I just twirl his feet around, you can see there's different angles. So that when he moves around, the feet kind of reflect that. Same thing applies for his hair, eyebrows. I mean, I just did a little more than what comes with the original Buddy flavor. Of course, now he has nose, he has the ears, so he looks more like a regular G2 character in the face. Now, one thing that it's one of those like love hate type things that goes on. The Buddy characters have just an arm and a hand, no forearm, and that does limit your motion of animation. And when I really looked at whether or not it was worth adding the forearm? I felt like it was. I have a few characters like my ninja buddies, and I believe the office buddy that I just created now have movable forearms. But in the future, I think all of my characters will have an arm and a forearm, because that does allow for you to have additional posing that you can do. So that is one thing I have incorporated with this character, is that in addition to his arm, he has forearms. And you may say, well, the arms are so short, what can you do with it? I'm going to show you exactly what I can do with it and why that modification was kind of critical for me. So right now I'm going to go ahead and hide the original Buddy character, and I'm just going to leave the chef on stage. But what I'm going to do is hop over to my Affinity designer. And as you can see, what I basically did was, if you go on the internet and you just, in my case, I Googled cartoon chefs. Like I said, you see a ton of different clip arts, and you be like, you know, I would love for a character to look like this, but I don't want to spend money for each one of these single poses. Well, you can create these poses, and I'm going to show you how you can create them. So here, what I did was randomly pick, let me go back. I randomly picked 4 different items, different clip art scenes, or clip art photos. And as you can see, they still have the watermark attached to them, and it's fine. I have no intentions on buying these products. I really wanted to use their character as a reference, and see, can I use my existing Crazy Talk Animator props, characters, and create something that resembles this type of work? And the answer is yes, I was able to do so. And because these are all chefs, and I'm working on my chef buddy before I release him within the next few days or so, I wanted to see what can I do with him. So here is the first one. And I basically gave him similar expressions, similar gestures, and I'm able to rig him to look quite like the watermark character. He's holding a serving tray, and to be honest, the buddy hands are pretty small, but to be honest, you can swap out the buddy hands with a regular G2 character hand if you want to see more definition. It's entirely up to you. In this case, I continue to use the buddy hands, but in one of my other, let me see if I have it up. I'm not sure if I still have them up, but in one of my other designs, I actually right here, I grabbed the G2 hand for this particular layout when I was advertising my chef buddy. So it's, you have the pieces. The goal is to be creative and get what you can out of it. So here's one with a fork and knife in his hand, and he's got a serious stance. And I was like, okay, able to create something that looks very similar to this. And this is like really my favorite one, because this chef looks so happy and he's got his food around. And for this, I believe I know I used some of Gary Pye's food pack, as well as I believe Cartoon Solutions food pack as well. So if you have those, you have all the things you need to kind of create a similar look. But as you can see, they're pretty much identical. And so for this tutorial, what I wanted to do was create this last one here. And this one's a little more, I won't say challenging, but the difference between the rest of these, whereas it was mainly the chef that was the main focal point, and he had little props in his hands or around him, whereas this one is almost like a full scene. So the goal will be, can I create a scene like this? And I'm going to try to record this while I'm building it up in Crazytalk Animator, and then I'm going to dump some of the pieces inside of this Affinity Designer, and we'll see what we come up with. So the first thing I want to do is grab a copy of this, and I want to create a new screen just to put him in, because what I'm going to do so that I have a good reference is I'm going to save this as a regular JPEG. so that I can bring it into Crazytalk Animator, and while I'm building my scene, I have a reference to look at. So I'm going to go ahead and just export this simple JPEG. I want just the file, not the whole screen. And I'm going to save this under, as you can see, my previous chef reference. So this will be chef number 4. And then I am going to go into the application. And before I get started with him, let me just go ahead and move him to the side. I'm going to go ahead and bring in my reference. But here is our reference. Put it in as a prop. Don't want them too big, but I do want them big enough that I can build my lookout. So I am going to lock this prop so that it doesn't move while I work on building a scene on this side of the screen. So the first thing I like to do is get my character into the same pose, because once my character's in the pose, I can always create the scene later. So for here, I'm looking at this guy and he's got kind of a 315-degree angle going on. So I'm going to go ahead and move my buddy to that same angle. I'm noticing that his feet are outward. So, let me get that back. Go back to default. Move it at 315. And I want to focus just on the foot. Oh, I have the feet on mirror, which is why it's doing both of them at the same time. So let me just get one going. And he's probably got a side angle pose going. So I'll leave it like that. And I will do the same look with the other one. Now, the key thing for a character is moving body parts around to create the pose that you want. In this case, this guy's tilted a little bit to the back, so I'm going to kind of shift his body around ever so slightly, nothing major. And then using the transform tool, I'm going to start moving body parts into the position that I want for this pose. And right now, I'm not going to focus so much on the layering. I really just want the position first, and it will all start to make sense later. So I'm going to grab the arm. I don't want his arm up here, like where his neck is at. I want to move it down. And as I stated before, this particular buddy, the arms and the forearms move, so I can adjust the forearms. And this is what's making it more powerful, because now you can do more with the character. You can't really add the thigh and legs with the buddy characters because the joint mass causes problems, and it won't work well with the application. But for the arms and forearms, you can add that with no problem. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to get everything in position. And then the last piece is, now normally you'd think, okay, this buddy character's his arms is just way too short to really see anything. But you know, you can stretch it. You can stretch it and it will make sense and it will look just fine. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to increase his arm length, and then I'm going to increase his forearm length. And then I'm going to move it out so that you see more of it. And I'm going to start to raise the forearm up. And again, reposition it to where I want it to be at, where I want it to be held at. So almost have all of the parts pretty much where I would like it. Now he's holding a pretty big dish, and I think in order to make that length that I need. I'm going to have to stretch this arm out more. Give it some more life here. And then I can squeeze the forearm in some more and bring it down. The main goal is to get that length that I want so that everything looks the way I want it to look. And you got to give it enough room to allow the plate and everything to be added as well. So I'm going to see how this looks. I think I can increase the forearm length here as well. And we can start to work with the joint mask so that things look cleaner. If you go into the Runtime Composer, you can deal with joint masks while still out on the stage mode. So I'm going to go to the forearm, activate the joint mask here, and don't know if I need it for the foot or not. I'd rather just move the foot behind the pants, so I'm going to leave that alone. But I think that's the only adjustment I wanted to make. Okay, so now we're going to work with some of the buddy hand poses and see if we can get this ready to receive the tray. So I'm going to go into the sprite editor. Let me drag it onto the screen so you can see it. And for as far as hands, we needed something kind of flat. I'm going to try and see how the pat looks. The pat may work fine for that one. And then for this one, I wanted the hands to be open. And I do want this hand to be behind the forearm. So it looks like that. And in the other case, I think this one's fine. Now we're just going to work on some positioning. Okay. And, you know, this guy is really happy with his work. So we're going to give this guy some happy eyes. We're going to go into the sprite editor and kind of play around with the facial expression. And I'm going to see if I have anything that kind of matches up with his happy face. And I'm going to go with, let me see how this one looks. And as far as eyes, let me see, this is happy, this is smiley. Maybe smiley might work better. And eventually we're going to have him look at the product, look at the plate. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and leave it like that. So we almost have the pose that we're looking for. I think his eyebrow expressions for the most part is okay. He's, you don't want him too excited, but he's happy with what he's created. I'm going to now start using the Deform tool to kind of make things look similar to what I'm seeing on the screen. It's not going to be exact because, of course, we're not using the same pictures. The whole goal is to get it as close as possible so that it resembles the same idea, the same message. And I will say I am a huge fan of the Deform tool. I still don't like that Reallusion has yet to add all 9 points to the body. The 9 points is only associated with the facial features right now. And in my opinion, that really sucks, because if you could morph the body the same way that you can morph the upper part of the face, the facial expressions, you can do a hell of a lot more with these characters. So I did ask for it to be included in a product update. Hopefully they will incorporate that, because that brings animation back up another notch. For the face, I'm just going to raise the eyebrows just a little bit, not a lot. And I'm not going to do much with the nose, but I am going to turn it so that it's at a different angle. I mean, this is the stuff that saves you money. This is the stuff that you don't have to buy something else to make it work. You can kind of stretch your existing artwork to do more. Now, let's give him something to look at. Let me find what kind of props I have. I know I have a nice big plate, so let me see if I can find a plate. Or a dish. It doesn't have to necessarily be some fried fish being cooked up, although I see one that definitely looks pretty raw, so I don't necessarily want to use that. And I might just do a cake. It's already on the plate. It's looks good. So maybe we will have the cake be our object of desire for the video. And now that we have something for him to look at, let's get his eyes up by bringing up the facial key editor. You want to make sure you have both eyes checked and just kind of make his eyes grow over. It did remove my mouth expression, but that's okay. We're going to have it move over so that he's looking clearly at the cake. And I'm going to see if I can just pop back in that mouth expression. There we go. Okay, and I want this foot to be in the back of the body. So let me see if I can tell it to be behind the upper torso. Better. All right, so we have our chef, and he has the object of his affection. We're going to now start working on some of the scenes. So I'm going to take these guys and kind of slide them off to the side. And now we're going to see what we can create using some of the I'm going to see what I can create using some of the existing stuff that I already own, and see if we can create a scene with it. And one thing I will say, I can demonstrate it so you can see. With the new application now, when you add stuff out, it seems to instantly find items that's already there. So if I let this go, it's actually going to replace the wall with the spatula, which I don't want to do. So one way you can avoid doing that is when you're adding additional props, you can kind of lock the ones that's already in there so that you can drag this out with ease and not having to worry about it being replaced by the item that you're dragging out. I really didn't see that being a problem in CTA 2, but I've noticed it a lot in CTA 3. Okay, so I think I have the scene that I'm looking for, and overall I'm pretty happy. We can now render this image, and I'm going to do it two ways just because I want to be able to manipulate my character a little bit more. I'm going to hide him in the birthday cake, but I'm going to render everything else as a regular PNG. So I'm going to render image, just this current frame, no hidden objects, and hit export. I'm going to put it in my chef reference folder and just say this is the final scene. So final scene, because I want to go back into Affinity Designer and I want to bring in that background scene. And from here I can get what I want to show and what I don't want to show. Probably right here. And now I can go back and I can hide everything else. Just go to props and say show none. But bring back the birthday cake and my guy so that I can copy and bring them in as well. And then from there I can kind of place him wherever I think the strongest part is, which probably is right here. So this was the original scene, kind of a restaurant scene. And here's mine. Oh, I am missing one piece that I would just love my character to have, and that's a shadow. Drag one here and just resize it. And of course I want it behind the character, underneath the character. So there we go. So one of the things that you can do when you break your images up in pieces so that you can put them on different layers, so you can do additional effects with your items. So I'm going to delete this reference real quick. And because we got multiple layers here, I really just have two. I have the background scene, and then I have the character. I also have this shadow at the bottom. But let's just say I wanted to bring more attention to the character, so I go into the background scene, and depending on your angle, in this case I'm just going to create a very, very light blur. Just lets you know to focus in more on the guy directly in front of you. And you can make him a different height. I can also do something like, say, for example, if I really want him to stick out, I might make the scene black and white. I might just make it all one unique color. It's really up to you. I'm gonna undo that, but just to point out the different things you can do by breaking some of your scenes up in layers, and the same thing can be done whether you're using a video editor as well. You can do a video editor and you can have like say for example a running scene where the background is kind of blurred, or you could have a scene where your background is blurred but your foreground and your midground is clear, and that's just kind of to help you really focus on what you really want the audience to see the most. So these are just different little tips and tricks you can do to enhance your stuff more, and I highly recommend playing around with it, getting familiar with it, and the end results. Let's see here. I did a quick screenshot where I played around with one, and I used the blur and a slight 3D effect on the character just to make him pop out more. So once again, it's all about staging, posing. Um, as you can see, you can take your time and you can pose your character and create some awesome effects. This could have been a menu. This could have been a flyer. Um, it could be a presentation, depending on what you're using it for. It could be so many different things. The information can be exported and copied into additional external softwares that you can use. Say, for example, if you're a fan of Articulate, I own Articulate Storyline, and it's an expensive software, but it's basically used for companies. And one of the core things they like to do is create like their training videos with it, because you can integrate questions and answers, and you can make it interactive. You can create live buttons and stuff. But what I have done in the past is I have imported my own characters, and they have their own character base as well. So if, say for example, let me just bring up their website. This is a reference to Storyline, which I own, but for some reason have not added it on to this laptop since I upgraded the operating system. But as you can see, you can create courses with this application, and once again, see how the poses, like for example, with this female character, well, with this female clip art, uh, she looks like she's contemplating, she's thinking something. You can create stuff for if they get the wrong answer. It could be an angry expression. I used to have this software where I created this guy called the Nutty Professor, and when you would get things wrong, he would kind of jump up and down, and steam would come out his ears to let you know that he was upset that the answer was wrong. And when you would do something right, he would do a little dance. Well, I actually created those animations in Crazytalk Animator and then imported them into Storyline. You can do something similar with PowerPoint. Storyline definitely has more features, which is why it's so another powerful outlet to use. But that's the beauty of Crazytalk Animator. You can go from different platforms and enhance something that you have used before, and do more with it, to the point that people are going to say, wow, how did you do that? And you can kind of sit back and smile, because it's easy to you once you learn how to use all of the different equipment that you were given. So I'm going to create one more blank page, and I am just going to kind of pop in all of my different versions of this one chef. And I mean, again, these were just basically front-facing poses. Of course, if you got a G2 character, you can do this with any angle, back view, front view, side view, top view. You can do so much with the software and then take it to additional external softwares and do even more. So it's not always about animation. In this case, you get to see my particular character in several different funny expressions that really brings out his personality. And to be honest, you'll get to a website and you'll see a whole page of different poses just like this, and they're selling it for a certain dollar value. Well, guess what? I created all of this with just taking a little time out to do my poses, and it didn't cost me any additional funds. When you build up your inventory with content from the marketplace, or content you have already purchased, again, you can bring them in a JPEG file or a PNG file as a prop, and you can go to town with it. So it doesn't always have to be something that you bought from the marketplace. This application lets you bring in videos, sound effects, props, you name it. You can do a lot of stuff with this application. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Once again, Happy New Year's, and take care. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for new content every week. If you would like to purchase my product, head over to my store for characters, props, and scenes. If you enjoyed this video, here is a link to another video you might like from this channel. Thanks for joining, and take care.